Hello and welcome to another, hopefully, a repair video on a PSP portable PlayStation. Now, this has come from a friend from work, so it's doesn't want to power on. So we did some checks, and the first thing I spotted was the fact there was no 5-volt coming out of this power supply. Now the power supply is housed in a plastic container like this, so I had to use a Dremel to open it up, and we got 240 volts going in but no 5 volts coming out. So I did some investigation and noticed that this diode was short, which is why we have no 5-volt out. Now that's a protection circuit for the DC 5-volt out. I believe it's 2 amp 5 volts. Let me just check. Yeah, it's 5-volt, 2000 milliamp, which is 2 amp. So it does require a bit of ampage, very low voltage, but ampage is 2 amp. I assume that's because it's also got to charge the unit, as it does have a removable battery. So anyway, I thought to myself, yes, I could replace the diode, which I have actually done, and yes, now the power supply does work, but we still don't get any power to the PSP. So I thought, let's just get another power supply, because I don't want to give it back to the customer, you know, because the plastic's all been chewed and there's no way of really sealing it. They're not designed to be repaired really, but nothing stops me. So I had to Dremel down the sides of the case to get it apart. So I thought I'd just buy another one. Bought this one for £5 on eBay. Exactly the same thing. We do have our 5-volt out from here, so we've now got 5-volt 2 amp coming out of here into the PSP. So just to show you that we do actually have an output. Put the meter on. I can't actually get my probes in the end because it's quite a small. I'll just put a piece of solder in this down the middle to act as a pin. And as you can see, we got 5.3 volts. 5.3 volts is there, look. So we've got an output. So that's problem number one sorted. However, when connecting it to the power source, now we know we have a good power source. Absolutely no power whatsoever. So I thought, okay, let's remove the battery, because you can actually power these without a battery in. So I removed the battery to eliminate a short on the battery that could be potentially stopping it powering on. And we still don't have any power. So we need to investigate and take it apart. Let's get it apart and I'll come back and see where we are. Okay, I've managed to get the top off the unit. It's pretty straightforward. There's 4 screws in here, so one here, and then there's one up there and one there, and then there's 2 here and here, and one at the top there. That will allow you then to remove the front off the PSP. Next stage would have been, still got to do this, is to remove this LCD, remove this touch strip. But what I did notice once I got to this stage is gently, I noticed this was very loose, which is fine because it's held in by the top. But, you know, I gently moved this and thought, okay, it's going to be a cable under this connecting this. And look at that, there's a plug. And the cable's down there, and it looks like it's come unplugged, which could explain why we don't have power, as the power switch is on this board on the end here where my thumb is. So there are other things that can also cause it not to have power, as I did some research on YouTube. And to get to that problem, again, you've got to remove the screen, the housing behind this touch strip. But before I do that, actually no, I've still got to remove this and this to get this cable reconnected, as the cable looks fine. Don't know if you can see the cable, but there's no way of really, it's down here, there's no way I can get in there to reconnect it back to that point. So what I'm going to need to do is still go through the process of removing this and the screen and the plate behind, so I've got more room on that cable to be able to manipulate it so I can plug it back into this. We'll try that first. There is also a fuse in this unit which is behind the LCD up here somewhere where my finger is, but obviously we still need to remove the LCD to get to that, so we'll check that as well. But I'm almost sure this has been dropped at some point in its life, and for some reason it's managed to unplug itself, because I certainly didn't do that. There was no resistance at all. It literally, as I tipped the unit up, the PCB fell forward like so. With this not connected to that, that obviously needs to happen before this unit will power. So let's get this screen removed, get this off, the metal plate off, get this reconnected, see if that makes any difference. If not, we'll move on to the fuse. Okay, we're now back. I've now stripped all the LCD screen off and the touch and the metal plate, so we can see now, so that was originally in there. And the screws to remove that we'll get into, and the LCD obviously sat on top of that. So the LCD is just clipped into that frame, to be fair. So when that's in there like that, obviously this sits in there and it's just clipped in on the ends. Just pry out a little bit with a pry tool. I'll use these on each corner and lift up gently, and you will get access to remove this, remembering that there's cables behind, ribbon cables behind, and that go down to the main board, which are there and there. Undo the screws for the metal plate, so we'll just go over where they are. So there's one there, one there, one there, and there's three here, 1, 2, 3, and I've obviously labelled them all up here so I know where they all go. So anyway, now we're into this, I can remove that, which means I've got better access to the cable that wasn't connected, which is this cable. I'm hoping that that was the problem, that somehow has come disconnected from, it's actually the pads to control the game, but it also has the LED on it, plus the power switch is on there that connects there. That wasn't connected to that, which potentially makes me think that this has been dropped because why would that come unplugged? It's pretty snug in there like that. Once the metalwork and the LCD is back in place, there's no movement on the cable, but there probably is a little bit on the PCB, but I don't know. We'll get this reconnected and see if it works, because obviously this has the power rails to the on-off switch. The other common causes with PSPs not powering up, which we will go over, is this fuse here. I'll try and zoom in so you can see it. So basically this fuse here, that's actually a fuse for the 5-volt rail. Obviously comes up from here up into there, up to this plug, and then it goes through here first. So we will just check that, but I suspect the problem's here. This has come unplugged somehow, so we'll get this connected up and we will just check this fuse and we'll be back. Okay, all back together apart from actually the top of the unit, which I'll put on once I know it all works. So let's give it a go. We have a light. Sony PlayStation has come up. And there we go. We are back up and running. That's my meter just going off. So yeah, we've fixed it, it looks like. Well, we need to test it with a game. But all it was the ribbon cable would come out underneath this PCB. In this case, like I say, all the YouTube videos I watch for dead PSPs, it is that fuse normally. In this case, was this ribbon cable. I assume it's been dropped at some point in its life. But anyway, here we have an image asking me to set the date and time. So let's get it all back together and we'll give it a test. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, we're back, and as you can clearly see, we're up and running. The game's loading fine, everything's working. If you like this video, please show the love by hitting the like button, sharing it to your friends, and thank you very much for watching. Until the next one, we'll see you again.